Well, hello. What day is it? Friday. You guys excited for Friday? I certainly am. I'm doing a earlier slash longer show today. I don't know how long it's going to be. It's probably going to be a couple hours because we will. I'm going to go through the entire Twitter thread, and then I'm going to watch. We're going to also watch the White House press conference when it does begin. It's supposed to start now, so I'm trying to debate: do I start going through the Twitter files thread from yesterday, or do I wait and do? Because my guess is they're going to ask. I know Fox News is because they already hinted that they were going to ask Karine Jean-Pierre about the Twitter relief yesterday or Twitter files drop, whatever. I'll try to do my best to keep it to a minimum. I have a challenge for you guys. A challenge. Like, who wants to get me a Christmas present? I convinced my wife to let me trade her car for a truck, but unfortunately, she's got a lot of negative equity in her car. And her car is the one that I drive now, the Subaru, because she broke the trunk. So she said I could buy a truck, but I just got to come up with money, and I can't use our savings. Hold on, my phone's ringing. I don't know who that is. So if you want to support this show today via Cash App or Venmo, I'll be honest, if I can, by the end of the show, if I can get enough to cover the difference, which is a lot, but if I can get enough to cover the difference, I will buy a truck. Because I was thinking about it today. And I realized for a while I've been like, you know what I mean? For several months. And I backtracked. And, I thought a lot of it had to do with buying our house because our house is junk and I hate our house. It's just small and, needs a lot of maintenance and stuff. But yeah, so I remember that I had a 2022 Silverado that when we bought our house, or right after we bought our house, I bought that truck. And then in June, the dealership called me and offered me a tremendous amount of money for it. So I sold the truck. And ever since then, I've kind of been in a rut. I think in order for my life to be complete, I need a truck. I'm in a good mood. I do great stuff. I produce great content. Plus, I need a truck to pull the damn trailer, and I want to outfit the trailer as a mobile coffee shop too. So I don't know. Susan asked, did the coffee shop pass inspection Tuesday morning? It did. So we are fully able to open. We're just waiting probably till January 1st. So Mandy said, tell me about it, Steve. My apartment is under 900 square feet. Yes, our house is under 90, or it's under 9. Well, it's under 1,000 square feet. It's like 988 square feet. It's tiny. My office is bigger than my house. The store is bigger than my house. So you can't keep anything clean, But so what I want to do is I found a used truck, a 2020 Dodge Ram Bighorn it's got a truck capper and everything on it, and I want that truck really bad. So if I make $3,000 during this show, I will buy that truck. And matter of fact, if I do it, I will get something that says "Thank you, Yeeters" across the back of the damn truck cap. No joke. Someone said you thought the coffee shop was opening December 10th. Yeah, well, no, it wasn't opening December 10th. I think we talked about trying to get it open earlier, but then with all the renovations and everything we had to do, I'm just not going to be able to. I'm not going to be able to get it open because here's the thing: I could open it right now, except we don't have anything in the store besides the coffee, so I need to get some more stuff in there. But yeah, so like I said today, we're going to be covering the Twitter files. I don't know what I should do, if I should cover the Twitter files first, interrupt it when the White House press conference comes, or should I just go straight to it? I have no idea. I haven't figured it out yet. But 11-2 Lime said, been out of touch. Yeah, I know you have. But no, that's all right. The health inspection was just granted on Tuesday. So we have now the health inspection. It's good. We can open right now. I could open literally right now. But the problem is we wouldn't have anything to sell. And I haven't been able to focus a lot of my time on doing the sales calls because I've been packaging coffee and doing all that in the background. So you guys may have missed the announcement last night, but we've actually partnered with a new coffee roaster, and they are going to handle all of our fulfillment. So it's going to make it a lot easier for me to have time in the morning and to do, and especially because I'm going to be manning the coffee shop myself. So, God Rides a Harley said, Steve, are you aware that the White House lied to us when they said the Marine was never an option, only the basketball player? Yes, I'm quite aware. I'm the one that tweeted out that viral tweet yesterday. So, well, myself and several other people did, but we all tweeted out a viral tweet where a state official told NBC News that it was a choice between one or the other. And then NBC News recanted that and said that the choice was or just her or no one. So, Lovin' Two Limes said, will I be staffing the shop? Yeah, me in the morning, because we don't have enough revenue to pay for someone to do it right now. So, Stacy said all of this corruption is disheartening. All right, so I guess while we're waiting for the White House press secretary, because she's probably going to take a long time, I do have the audio on. We will go through the Twitter file dump from yesterday. Okay, we will go through the Twitter file dump from yesterday, and I will try to not have any opinion while I read this. Although I was quite disappointed, but I keep hearing my phone, but it's not Venmo's or anything. It's mellow people, but yeah. Kate said you retweeted. Yeah, I know. So did everybody has. So I don't know. All right. So here's the first one. It says Thread. So this is Bari Weiss. She's a reporter. I don't know anything about her other than she's a reporter, and she was one of the people that was selected by Elon Musk to review these Twitter files. Now, let's be honest. These are not. Okay, no, I won't say an opinion. So let's just go through this as mellow as we can. So the first one, it says Thread Twitter Files Part 2, Twitter Secret Blacklist. Now, I thought this was kind of interesting because, you know, I'm currently on season 7, episode like 13 of the Blacklist, and I really like that show. But it kind of made me think of this just because it's Blacklist. Anyway, Bari Weiss said a new Twitter Files investigation reveals that teams of Twitter employees build blacklists, prevent disfavored tweets from trending, and actively limit the visibility of entire accounts or even trending topics, all in secret. She goes on to say that Twitter once had a mission to give everyone the power to create and share ideas and information instantly without barriers. Along the way, barriers were nevertheless erected. Number 3, it says, for example, take Stanford's Dr. Jay Butchara, who argued that COVID lockdowns could harm children. Twitter secretly placed him on a trends blacklist, which prevented his tweets from trending. And this is an interior view of Twitter software. So like if Twitter employees are looking at your account, that's what they see on your screen there, which is, I mean, that's the most interesting thing that came out of this whole thing. Well, crap, there was opinion. All right, but here's the next one. She said, or consider a popular right-wing talk show host, Dan Bongino, who at one point was slapped with a search blacklist, which you can see, it says it here, Spike search blacklist right there, blah, blah, blah. Again, these are all interior screenshots of their software. Twitter set the account to conservative activist Charlie Kirk to do not amplify. And then she goes on to say, Twitter denied that it did such things. In 2018, Twitter's Vaya God, then head of legal policy and trust, and Kayvon Bocure, head of product, said, we do not shadow ban. They added, and we certainly don't shadow ban based on political viewpoints or ideology. What people call shadow banning, Twitter executives and employees call visibility filtering, or VF. Multiple high member sources confirmed its meaning. Bari then goes and says, think about visibility filtering as being a way to suppress what people see to different levels. It's a very powerful tool, according to one unnamed Twitter employee. She then goes on to write that VF refers to Twitter's control over visibility. It used VF to block searches of individual users, to limit the scope of a particular tweet's discoverability, and to block select users' posts from ever appearing on the trending page and from inclusion in hashtag searches. She goes on to say, all without users' knowledge. And then promptly several minutes later, she said, we control visibility quite a bit, and we control the implication of the context, your content quite a bit. And normal people do not know how much we do it, said one anonymous Twitter engineer who still apparently works for Twitter. So he's shown his allegiance there, not exactly neutral. 2 additional Twitter employees also confirmed this. Number 12, the group decided whether to limit the reach of certain users was the Strategic Response Team, Global Escalation Team, or SRTGET. It often handled up to 200 cases per day. But there existed a level beyond official ticketing, beyond the rank and file moderators following the company's policy on paper. That is the Site Integrity Policy Escalation Support, known as SIP-PES. This secret group included head of legal policy and trust, God, which is Via God, or however you say her name, the global head of trust and safety, Yoel Roth, and several CEOs, Jack Dorsey and Parag Agrawal, among others. This was the biggest, most politically sensitive decision. This is where the biggest and most politically sensitive decisions were made. Think high follower account controversial, said another anonymous Twitter employee. For these, there would be no ticket or anything. Barry Weiss said one of the accounts that rose to this level of security was Libs of TikTok. Now, you may have seen this tweet. It's kind of going viral, not for what you think. But it says the account on the Trends blacklist was designated as do not take action without confronting. Hold on. Do not take action on user without consulting with SIP-PES. And now you could see in the top part, let me, so you can see there, it says do not take action on user without accounting SIP-PES. And then the reason why this is going viral, see right here on the side of your screen, right here, where it says direct messages. So basically, a lot of people on social media, the leftist morons, are saying that because that says direct messages, that they're assuming that the reporters have access to the internal software and they can access direct messages of like liberals and people they're targeting. That's what the left is saying on social media, which is mildly entertaining. Anyway, number 17, the account which Shaya Radic began in November of 2020 is now boasts 1.4 million followers and was subjected to 6 suspensions in 2022 alone. She says each time she was blocked from posting for as long as a week. Twitter repeatedly informed Rycheck that she had been suspended for violating Twitter's policy against hateful conduct. But an internal SIP-PES memo from October 22 said after her 7th suspension, the committee acknowledged that LTT has not directly engaged in behavior violative of the hateful conduct policy. And then it has the message here, which is stupid. And then it goes on to say the committee justified her suspensions internally by claiming her posts encourage online harassment of hospitals and medical providers by insinuating that gender-affirming healthcare is the equivalent to child abuse or grooming, which it is. Barry Weiss then wrote, compare this to what happened when Rycheck herself was doxxed on November 21st, 2022. A photo of her home with her address was posted in a tweet that had garnered more than 10,000 likes. When she told Twitter that her address had been disseminated, Twitter support responded with the message, "We reviewed the reported content, didn't find it to be in violation of Twitter rules. No action was taken," and the tweet is still up. In internal Slack messages, this also got a little bit of leftist rage on social media because they're like, oh my God, they're using internal Slack messages. Anyway, Twitter employees spoke of using technicalities to restrict the visibility of tweets and subjects. Here's Yoel Roth, Twitter CEO, or Twitter's then global head of trust and safety, in a direct message to a colleague. And let me minimize it. He said, a lot of times SI has used technically spam enforcements as a way to solve the problem of created by safety under enforcing their policies, which again isn't a problem per se, but it keeps us from addressing the root cause of the issue, which is that of our safety policy, or which is that our safety policies need some changes. I don't know. I zoomed out. Anyway, it then goes on to say that 6 days later, in a direct message with an employee on the Health, Misinformation, Privacy, and Identity Research team, Roth requested more research to support expanding non-removal policy interventions like disabling engagements and de-amplification, visibility, and filtering. So he says, one of the biggest areas I'd love to research support on is non-removal policy interventions like disabling engagements, de-amplification, visibility, filtering. The hypothesis underlying much of what we've implemented is that the exposure, e.g., misinformation, directly causes harm. We should use remediations that reduce exposure, and limiting the spread virality of content is a good way to do that by just reducing prevalence overall. We got Jack on board with implementing this for civic integrity in the near term. We're going to need to make more of a robust case to get this into our repertoire of policy remediations, especially for other policy domains. I'd love to research POVs. I'd love research's POV on that. And then she just read what I just read. And then that's it. That's all she put out. So in all reality, it was a big nothing burger. And I know a lot of people disagree. They're like, oh my gosh, this is proof that, well, and so I'll give my opinion after. Here is Karine Jean-Pierre.
He wanted to do everything that he could to make sure that he brought her home. And we were does not change.
Let's just fast forward. Let's rewind to the beginning.
So I will say this, as always, we do not discuss private conversations that we have with members of Congress. Don't have anything else to share outside of that.
Stay tuned too, because at the end of this, I want to hear what she has to say today, because it's a volatile news day for a variety of reasons. So I want to hear what she has to say. However, I don't want to lose people. I will give my opinion, and I will say the biggest thing that came out of this Twitter dump yesterday was not released in that Twitter dump. So you're not going to want to miss that.
In this administration, when you look at the past 20 months, from the American Rescue Plan to the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law to the Inflation Reduction Act to the Respect for Marriage Act, from also the PACT Act, all of these pieces of legislation have been historic, and we have partnered with Senator Sinema. And so, look, we understand her decision to register as an independent in Arizona. The way we see it and understand it, it does not change the new Democratic majority control of the Senate. And we have every reason to expect that we will continue to work with her successfully.
And on a different topic, yesterday's prisoner swap, does the president believe that the deal that was struck by his administration with the Bush administration to free Brittney Griner was a fair one, that was a fair arrangement?
Look, and when I've talked about this yesterday as well, here's the way that we have seen this. When you talk about fair, Brittney Griner is an American citizen who was being held unjustly. She was being held unjustly under intolerable circumstances. That was what was happening to Brittney Griner. And so that means something to the president. He believes, when you have an American passport, it means something. And so he wanted to do everything that he could to make sure that he brought her home. And we were presented with an option. As you know, we've laid this out. You've heard from my NSC colleagues as well, where it was either Brittney or no one. That was the option that we were given. And so the president wanted to keep his promise in making sure that he brings American citizens home who are being wrongfully detained abroad. That is a promise that his administration is continuing to fight for. And so that's what you saw. You saw the same action that he took with Trevor Reed, he took with Brittney Griner, and others, almost a dozen other wrongfully detained Americans have come home under his administration, and he is going to continue to work very hard, and his administration to work very hard to bring Paul.
I think she's forgetting that dude is also a United States citizen and a U.S. passport holder, and he never said he wouldn't take that he didn't like the national anthem.
Deal that
she
was presented to us. And what was occurring is, in the past week or two, we saw that from the Russians were willing to release Brittney Griner for Mr. Bout. That was what was presented to us. They were not willing to, and I said this yesterday, to negotiate in good faith for Paul Whelan. And so it was either Brittney Griner, one American, or no American. And so that's how we see the negotiation that was presented in front of us. And that's the very difficult decision that the president had to make. And we were able to bring her home safely. I'm sorry. I was gonna. Go ahead.
I understand you're not going to detail private conversations, but just to be clear, was the White House given a heads up that Senator Sinema was going to be?
I'm just not going to go into details. I'm just not going to go into details on any private conversation that we have. I'm just not going to go into.
That's a very common thing. Let's count that. She just said it 3 times.
Congress. That's something that we normally do. Just not going to do that.
But that suggested a private conversation.
I'm not.
4 times.
Mary, I'm just not going to go into details on this.
Well, let me try this then. Just 2 days ago, you said that Warnock's win gave you a little bit more breathing room, a little bit more ability to deliver for the American people. Does Sinema's decision to leave the party take away some of that breathing room?
Look, as I said, and I put out a statement on this, as you all know, as I said, that we understand Senator Sinema's decision to register as an independent. The way that we see it, it does not change the majority, or it doesn't change the complexion of what our Democratic majority is going to look like in the Senate.
How then does it impact you? I mean, you're saying that this decision won't change at all how you work with her, or you said that you expect that, or you have every reason to expect that you will continue to work successfully with Sinema. Where does that expectation come from?
Because she has voted with the president 93% of the time, because she has worked with us on key priorities of this administration. When you think about his economic policy, I just laid out all of the different historic pieces of legislation that we have been able to get done, and she has played a key role in that. When you think about the CHIPS and Science Act, when you think about the bipartisan infrastructure law, those are pieces of legislation. There's another long list of other things that she's worked with us on. That's 93%. And so we think that partnership will continue. We do not see a change in our Democratic majority as it relates to the Senate. So we are very confident. I'm going to call actually on Alex in the back because of what occurred yesterday. I know Brett is not here, but want to give you an opportunity to ask a question.
Thank you. I wanted to ask about if the president has spoken with any gun violence prevention advocates or victims' families ahead of the Sandy Hook anniversary, and also if he has any plans to talk to lawmakers next week about his call for an assault weapons ban.
Don't have anything to preview at this time on any calls.
What is that? Number 7, where she doesn't give an answer?
The president has talked about Sandy Hook being the worst day in his 8 years.
She literally has to read from notes every single time.
This sad day next week, as I laid out in the week ahead.
Bring back Kayleigh
on Wednesday,
McKinney.
as you all saw, the president.
Gabby said, "What you mean when you rage quit yesterday? What do you mean? What do you mean when I rage quit? I'll turn this on when it's relevant." What do you mean when I rage quit? When I was doing the Twitter files, yeah, I'll talk about the opinion and why I abruptly ended my feed yesterday with the Twitter files release. Because I know what they're doing. Anyone hear what Kevin McCarthy said on Out Front today? That's why I rage quit.
Gun violence. He's actually
what did he say on Out Front?
He fought
I think it's Out Front. Outnumbered. Outnumbered. What did he say today?
More executive action.
If you heard him on Outnumbered, you know exactly what I meant.
Other president.
She rage quit too, yeah.
Look, and let's not forget, he signed the most significant gun safety legislation in 30 years this summer, but he feels that is not enough, and we need to do more. And so he continues to call.
She rage quit yesterday because she's a racist. Yeah, I said it. She is a racist. Wait till the African members of the press, the ones from Africa. I think it's like Today in Africa. Simon, whenever he tries to speak, Jen Psaki did the same thing. Jen Psaki did the very same thing to the same guy. And I wrote about it. I wrote a whole article about it, and he ended up getting some attention, not from me, obviously. He got attention from Fox News and everything else. You know?
When she asked you why you
someone made a purchase of some coffee.
Sinema successfully cited her record, but just to put a fine point on it, has the administration been given assurances by anyone within the senator's office or the senator herself that she is going to continue to work with you?
I'm just not going to divulge or speak to any private conversations that we have with members of Congress. That is something that is not unusual. That's something that I've said many times before. Understand the question. What I am saying is her.
Hey, can we get some spam that thumbs up button on YouTube, will you?
Come on, she's voted. Voted with the president over the last 20 months. I've listed out the historic pieces of legislation that she has played a significant role. That she's played a key partner role with us, and so. We don't see a change in the Democratic majority with her deciding to register as an independent.
Do you expect her to caucus with Democrats?
We don't see a change in the Democratic majority. And so we see this as a decision that she has made, but we do not see a change in our Democratic majority.
Let me ask it this way, and then I do have one on Brittney Griner. Does Senator Sinema have the support of the president in this decision and moving forward into 2024?
So cannot speak to 2024. I'm covered by the
7.
Hatch Act, and as far as I understand it, she hasn't announced her plans for 2024 yet. So just not something that I'm going to speak to.
Support of the president right now.
Absolutely.
Decision.
Well, we see her as a key partner. We understand her decision to register as an independent.
Let me ask you about something that Vladimir
See
Putin
everybody as
said
keeper.
today, as you know, when he
All
held that
rise.
press conference, and he said more prisoner swaps may occur between the U.S. and Russia. He said, quote, everything is possible. What does the U.S. make of that? What does the administration hear in those words?
So we're just not going to talk about any ongoing diplomatic conversations. We've been very clear that we want the American people to know that their safety and security is among our highest priority when it comes to aggressively doing everything that we can to bring American.
Mods, ban the Asura Grastas.
Not going to
Ban
get
them,
into
please.
any
YouTube.
diplomatic conversations from here.
Thank you. Now that Brittany Griner is back on U.S. soil, has President Biden spoken to her, or does he plan to?
So don't have any calls to preview. As you know, the president spoke with her, Brittany Griner, yesterday morning in the 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock hour, right before he came out to speak to all of you and to give the announcement. And in the room was her wife and the vice president and Jake Sullivan, and also the Secretary of State. And we've already read out what that conversation was like. I do want to give a little bit more information on where we are this morning. We can confirm, as you all know, that Brittany Griner arrived at Joint Base San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston, early this morning. She has been reunited with her wife, Sherelle. U.S. officials who met her on the ground said she was in very good spirits, appears to be in good health. She was immediately taken to Brooke Army Medical Center, where she is being offered a range of support options following her time detained in Russia.
Do you know if she's home or when she might go home?
So not going to get ahead of what's going to happen next. What I can tell you is where she is currently today. Every individual is different, and those decisions are up to them and their families. They'll take as much time as they need. What we can say, typically upon arrival, people are offered a wide range of additional support, including full medical checkup, a mental health checkup, and additional means of support. All of this is voluntary, so it is up to her and her family.
Can you confirm the report that Russia wanted Vadim Krasikov, who is a Russian assassin being held in Germany, in exchange for Paul Whelan?
So I cannot go into any specifics or any negotiations information from here. As you know, we are working very hard to secure Paul's return, and so don't want to get ahead of what's currently happening, and I just want to leave it there.
Well, did the U.S. have any conversations with a third party when they were negotiating the prisoner swap?
I'm just not going to get into specifics on any of the negotiations. What I can tell you was that we realized, and I think I said this a moment ago, we realized about a week or two ago that Russia was willing to do a negotiation to release Brittany Griner, and that was Brittany Griner for Mr. Bout. And that's what they offered. They were not negotiating in good faith when it came to Paul. They categorized him very differently, and we've talked about that. Unfortunately, in an illegitimate charges that they levied against Paul. And so at this time, we were not able to secure his release. I don't want to get into any specifics about negotiations as we continue to have those conversations to secure Paul.
And just one more quick one. In order to get an American back, is the U.S. only willing to swap a Russian national, or would it consider trying to work with another country to get someone else?
I get your question, and I understand. I just cannot get into what we will or will not do any of the negotiations. We have Americans out there who are wrongfully detained, being held hostage, and we want to make sure that we get them home safely. And negotiating from here or giving information on the internal mechanics or process certainly would not be prudent.
Thanks, Corinne. China is easing its COVID zero restrictions. I'm wondering if you could talk about whether that's something that the White House supports or doesn't, and specifically how you see it playing out for U.S. manufacturing that has operations in China. Do you think it will sort of improve supply chains because there will be less restrictions on workers, or is there concern, both medical and economic, about if there are wide-scale outbreaks of COVID in China now?
So any any policies of the PRC, I'm certainly not going to comment about them from here. What we have been very clear about is China's COVID policy is not a policy we are pursuing here. In the United States, we are focused on what works, like encouraging Americans to get their updated vaccine, which we try to do as often as we can from here, and also just more broadly in the administration, and making testing and treatment easily accessible. That is going to be our focus. We're just not going to comment on PRC's policies.
And then Fox Business had a report today that Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan is on a short list to replace Janet Yellen if and when she decides to leave the administration. Wondering if you could comment on that.
So, as Secretary Yellen said herself just last month, she has no plans to leave. It seems to be that report to us seems to be pure speculation. I'm going to go. Go ahead.
I have two questions. The first one is on...
First, I thought you were going to talk to me in French. I was going to be like, oh, gosh. Hope my mom's not watching.
First thing is on the statement that came out today about Canada and the U.S. taking coordinated sanction against Iranian officials connected to human rights abuse. I'm trying to figure out why this...
So Peter Doocy isn't there. So who... Does anyone know who's from Fox News? Is that guy from Fox News up in the front row? He normally sits there.
So I just want to say at the top, the United States is committed to supporting the Iranian people and imposing costs on those responsible for the brutal crackdown. We continue to coordinate with allies and partners and find ways to confront Iran's human rights abuses, both in public and also in private. The joint U.S.-Canada statement today is an example of this effort. We took coordinated sanctions against actions today against Iranian officials connected to human rights abuses, including those committed as part of the ongoing brutal crackdown aimed at denying the Iranian people their human rights and their fundamental freedoms, their fundamental rights. So we'll continue to support the Iranian people. I can't speak to Canada. You would have to speak to their government, as I'm sure you do often, but I can't speak to different countries' reasoning for their own reasoning for taking action. But clearly, this is an important action that shows support for the Iranian people as we're seeing this truly brutal crackdown on the civilians there.
Thank you. And my other question is on the next week's summit, the African Leaders Summit. I'm just, we're going to get into details, but I'm trying to figure out how much do the Chinese intense economic involvement and the Russian, through Wagner, military involvement, is playing a role in the president's willingness to engage even more intensely with the leaders.
What I can say, our focus next week is going to be on Africa. That's going to be the focus of the summit. This summit is an opportunity to deepen the many partnerships we have on the African continent. We will focus on our efforts to strengthen these partnerships across a wide range of sectors, spanning from businesses to health to peace and security. But our focus will be on Africa next week. Okay.
Can you provide any updates on what the president is doing to push forward the government spending bill?
So look, I've talked about this many times, and we believe getting the government funding done is critical, and it's going to be important. And this is something that we encourage and continue to talk to Congress about getting this done. I talked about how Shalonda Young is certainly leading that effort, our OMB director, and she knows how to get bipartisan deals done here. And look, we were able to get government funding done in a bipartisan way last year. We believe it should be done in a bipartisan way this year. There is enough time to get this done. We are talking about critical resources that the American people need. When you think about public health, public education, our national security, these are all incredibly important, and it should be done in a bipartisan way. And there's enough time to get that moving.
And as families are facing rising school lunch debt, can you also provide an update as to what the president is doing to push forward free school meals for all?
So the president, as you've heard him say, is proud that his American Rescue Plan provided additional emergency food and nutrition assistance for those in need, building on our $60 million investment in farm-to-school initiatives, our national strategy on hunger, nutrition, and health, which we released in September, includes a provision on creating a path to free health school meals for all children. As a first step in reaching this goal, the administration is committed to working with Congress to expand access to healthy free school meals to an additional 9 million kids over the next decade. But obviously, this has been a priority for this president since the beginning of his administration.
Just a follow-up on Iran and human rights. Iran just executed a man for his involvement in the anti-government protests. Other detainees also face the possibility of the death penalty related to the protests. Can you speak more specifically on those instances?
So we denounce these draconian sentences in the strongest terms. These sentences are meant to intimidate people and suppress dissent, and so they will not work. And Iranian's leadership continues its violent crackdown. As they do that on peaceful protesters, they should know that the world is watching. It just talked about a letter that was signed by our allies, really calling that out, continuing to do that. So the United States is committing to supporting the Iranian people and imposing cost on those responsible for the brutal crackdown. Just today, again, we announced the sanctions to hold Iran accountable for human rights abuses. We continue to coordinate with allies and partners and find ways to confront Iran's human rights abuses, both, again, as I said earlier, in public and in private. We will stand with Iranian civilians as they are fighting for their basic freedom, their basic human rights, and we will continue to denounce that.
Okay, and another question on Saudi, please. Does President Biden plan to follow through with his statement that there will be consequences on...
It's kind of funny because I just set up my camera because there was a guy trying to back into that spot and he's been trying to do it for 5 minutes. And the second I put my camera up, the guy he gives up and pulls away.
Does the growing ties between Saudi and China, does that play a role in the administration's reassessment of relations with Saudis that were promised to us?
So there's a couple of things there, kind of laid out a couple of items that I'll touch on. So look, the gas prices that we're seeing currently that are going down is because of the work that this president has done. It's because he took historic action to tap into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And because of those actions, we're seeing prices go down. So I want to be very, very clear on that. So as far as the relationship, the review that you're asking me about, we are assessing relations with Saudi Arabia methodically and strategically, as we have done over the last 80 years of this relationship in a bipartisan way. And we're going to do this in line with what's in our interest, and we will judge the way forward based on their actions as well as our ongoing consultations with partners and allies.
Now, if you've never watched this before, then you probably assume that the White House press conference would actually provide you with some sort of insight into what's going on inside the White House. But I'll tell you, if you have watched this before, then you know that you're never going to actually get any information out of these White House press conferences. They don't tell anything. They just lie. Pretty much that, or they just don't, or it's not even that they lie. They just don't even tell you the truth. They just say, I'm not going to answer that, or I can't answer that. That's the way these White House press conferences go. Also, if you want to support the show, okay, you could do it via the links down below. I'll be honest, if everybody did like $5 or $10, if every single person watching right now, I could do everything that I need to do. I'm just saying.
Sale. I think we've talked about that here before in the briefing room. We continue to support Taiwan's self-defense, consistent with our longstanding One China policy. So no change there. Go ahead.
Thank you, Kareem. I've got two questions for you. The first about the coronavirus pandemic, and then one about Twitter. On the pandemic, the former vice president of the EcoHealth Alliance has a new book out, and he says that he's convinced that COVID-19 leaked from a Wuhan lab. To my knowledge, he hasn't produced any direct evidence, but he speculates that risky U.S.-funded research caused the pandemic. Does the U.S. government have a response to that?
So I would refer you to the NIH on that, but a couple of things, and EcoHealth as well for specifics here on the question that you have. But we do not know the origins, as you know, of COVID because of China's lack of transparency. As I've said before, this is something we, including the president, have pressed China on repeatedly. NIH has exhaustively communicated the oversight of its scientific work and its purpose to ensure pandemic preparedness. It's quite wonky, as you know. And so again, I would refer you to NIH. Again, it's very in-depth, and that's the place that I would refer you to get more specifics.
Just a very brief follow-up before turning to Twitter. Dr. Fauci's agency recently resumed funding for the EcoHealth Alliance. Is there any concern about that, given its past risky research in Wuhan? And if you're not able to speak to that, I was wondering if you could perhaps invite Dr. Fauci back here to take some more questions.
I would refer you to NIH. They would provide you with the information directly. So I'll just leave that there.
But on Twitter, Elon Musk this week fired the former FBI General Counsel Jim Baker, who was serving as a top Twitter lawyer. Musk alleges that he may have been involved with countermanding his attempts at transparency. And I was wondering if anyone in the Biden administration was in touch with Baker, either regarding moderation decisions that critics call political censorship or regarding his transparency efforts recently.
So it's up to private companies to make these types of decisions. We were not involved. I can say that. We were not involved. And as I've said several times this week already, we've had this conversation many times in this briefing room, just the past couple of days. Of course, it's up to these companies to make their own decisions about the content on their platform and to ensure content flows there on standards and on their own standards and policies. Don't have anything more to share.
Briefly on the not involved in speaking with Baker about this transparency effort by Musk, is that what you're saying? That the Biden administration wasn't involved?
We were just not involved. Just answering your question, we were not involved. Go ahead.
Thanks, Ring. I think probably across this question to some degree, but the official commutation order for Victor Bout was signed by the president on December 2nd, which was 5 days before everything actually transpired. Why 5 days? Did that mean that the deal was done then, or you did it in preparation for a deal? How does that actually work?
So, as I've stated before, you just stated it, that about the clemency. Look, we knew about a week or two ago that there was going to be a deal for Brittany Griner. And that was what the Russians had presented to us. And they wanted the deal, right, to secure her return was Mr. Bout for Brittany Griner, Mr. Bout
Shout
for
out to
Brittany
Jesse
Griner.
for that.
And so that was the
you.
deal that was presented to us, and that's how we moved forward because we wanted to make sure we brought one American home. It was either no American or one American. And so that process was about a week or two ago. I can't go into detailed specifics on the 5 days or when things were signed. I don't have that information to provide for you at this time. But we learned that about
They're never gonna
last
tell you the truth.
a week or two ago.
Preparatory, nothing was final until Brittany Griner was in the custody of.
I kind of laid out kind of the process yesterday or how that all worked. Don't have that in front of me to share with you at this time. But what I can say is the past week or two, we learned from the Russians that they were willing to release Brittany Griner for Mr. Bout. And we tried throughout the past several months, as you know, the past 6 months since we heard from Secretary Blinken back in July, saying that we were in intensive conversation to get Brittany home, to get Paul Whelan home. In every conversation over the last several months, we worked very hard to get the both of them home. That was always a priority. And again, it wasn't until very recently that we learned that they were only willing to make an arrangement for Brittany Griner, and Paul Whelan, as I've stated many times before, was just seen differently.
Do you know what would be amazing? Do you know what would be amazing if Putin came out and he's like, "This is false. Can you imagine if Putin just comes out and he's like, I have emails. They are lying to you, Americans. They are lying. Because we already know they're lying.
Changed or spurred the planning for the next Congress legislatively, how you guys approach the next Congress, and was that shifted at all by what happened this morning?
What happened this morning?
Yes.
No, not at all. I mean, and that's the point that I'm trying to make here. You know, you have someone, Senator Sinema, who has, voted with the president 93% of the time on key, important, historic pieces of legislation. And I listed them out earlier. I'm not going to bore you by doing that again, but they were important pieces of legislation that you all covered and we've talked about in this briefing room. And so we do not see. We understand why she would want to register as an independent, but we do not see the Democratic majority changing with this decision that she's made.
Just want to ask you on the oil price cap. So there's 20 oil-laden tankers now sort of stuck trying to get out of the Black Sea into the Turkish Straits. I know that Treasury officials have been in touch with Turkish officials on this. Are you looking at escalating that conversation, to a higher level? Are you frustrated with Turkey's reluctance to back away from this rule?
Somebody's having a good time. Oh, okay. So as you said, we've been in touch with Turkey about how the price cap only applies to Russian oil, and explain that the cap doesn't necessitate additional checks on ships passing through Turkish waters. Our understanding is that virtually all of the delayed tankers are not carrying oil from Russia and are not affected by the cap. So Turkey has made clear they share our interest in a well-supplied market and allowing seaborne oil to transit the Turkish Straits. They have made clear their goal is to resolve this issue as quickly as possible. And so again, we've been in touch with Turkey, and this is how we're moving forward.
It doesn't seem to be resolved at all. I mean, there's 28 tankers now, and now on top of it, you've got the Turkish officials saying they don't see any reason to rescind that rule.
Well, in our conversation, they want to resolve this issue, and we are again having those conversations with Turkey, and we feel like we are going to get to a place where this will get resolved.
Okay, and then let me follow up on oil production. The Russians have said they could cut oil production to.
We had a tight race for top dono for this stream so far. First, we had Jesse, and then Pamela came in strong with a second one. And Pamela was about to take the lead, but then Jesse's like, hold my yeet stein, and did another Venmo.
Various.
So Jesse is still in the lead.
We're not surprised by Putin's.
Just in case you're all curious,
what Russia is saying.
I got to give a shout out to Jesse and Pamela. You guys are my favorites.
On Russian oil.
I'm only now. I'm what am I? I'm 1% towards my goal for the day.
It can be.
No. Yes.
To prevent
1%.
Russia from further profiteering
1%
from its war.
So I just need 99% more, and then I'll buy the truck. Let's do it.
Action demonstrates the unity of the United States and our allies and partners. So again,
yes,
I'm not going to be, when it comes to limiting their flow. We're not in the business of responding to a hypothetical as well, but wanted to lay out how we see this process.
Also, if you go to the link that's in the description of the video, which is Pure Truth Coffee /pages/donate, you could do PayPal, you could do credit card
to fund his illegal war. While promoting stable global energy markets. This is not about Russian oil of the market. This is about the cap. The cap at this level maintains clear incentives for Russia to continue exporting, and we believe that it should.
Can I just ask you a domestic question? So Maxwell Frost was denied, an apartment or an application because of really bad credit. I know that you've looked at housing inequities and problems facing.
Got to give a shout out to, who was it? Deborah via PayPal. She's tied for second place now.
Credit applications and then fees that carry a fee seems to be something that's happening all over the country. Is there anything that the White House or that the Biden administration can do to curb what seems to be a predatory practice in some cases, where people are basically you know, they, in order to even get a chance of getting an apartment in this very tight and difficult housing market, you have to pay money up front.
So what the president and the administration understands that Americans are struggling with high cost of housing. That is something that we have seen throughout these past several years. And that's why the president released his housing supply action plan that we have talked about. And it's to ease that burden of housing cost over time by using a mix of administrative and legislative actions to boost the supply of quality housing in every community. Just last month, the White House hosted a range of tenants and tenant advocates for listening sessions along with federal agencies, and we'll have more more conversations like these, and we'll add, to add the topics that you're just laying out. But again, that's why the president took initiative with his plan. I've talked about the different specifics of the plan and how it's going to help folks who feel that burden, because we also understand housing costs, again, is one of the things that has a big effect on people's lives and livelihoods. So this is a priority for this administration.
Thanks, Karine. I wanted to ask an earlier Russia question another way. So when Putin says that nothing is off the table with future prisoner swaps, what, in your view, is the best way for the American people who may just be turning into this issue based on what happened with Brittany Griner to actually think about what Putin is saying? Should it be seen as a substantive offer to engage? Should it be viewed with skepticism? Should it heighten hopes that Paul Whelan could be brought home? I'm wondering if you can just set expectations based on the current state of play between our two.
Well, we have an update on the top dono for the day. Jesse and Pamela were tied, right? They made multiple ones. They were tied. But then Kathy came in with flying, and she is now the lead dono.
Broadly speaking,
Just
the president, since the beginning of his administration, has said that
we are now officially at 10%. Actually, we're just over 10%
who are being
of where we need to be
detained and held hostage are brought home. We have seen this multiple times throughout this past 20 months. Again, Trevor Reed, we saw in April the president bring home Brittany Griner clearly yesterday, and about 12 other American citizens. And so the president's going to stay committed to that. I'm not going to get into what President Putin says or not say, or I'm just not going to get into his head. That's not something that we do from here. What I will say is that we are going to continue to negotiate in good faith to get Paul home.
Good, Karen.
What is it?
Today on the NDAA, the House has now passed this legislation. It does rescind the military vaccine mandate, which you made clear the president does not agree with. Will the president sign this legislation or veto it?
Again, I'm just not going to get ahead of the president. This is something that the president decides on. We've been very clear where we stand on the vaccine mandates, and we've said it many times before. You know, Republicans in Congress have decided that they'd rather.
Jessica asked about sending stars on Facebook. You can. Facebook takes a little bit of those, and I'll get them in like 45 days. It helps, though. So, yeah, you're more than welcome to send stars. I don't get notifications of them. The preferred way right now is just Cash App, Venmo. If you got to do a super chat, you can do it there.
So the president will.
But we're 10% of the goal, and I promise you, if I make that goal today, when I buy the truck, I'm gonna get this truck is brought to you by Yeeters, right, on big red letters across the back of the what do you call it, the Lear truck cap. And you watch, I guarantee I'll be productive as fuck.
To Arizona. So do you know when the last time they spoke was?
I don't have.
I think I need a truck in my life to truly be complete.
The last time that they spoke.
So stupid, but I think it's true.
Don't have anything to share with you at this time on that piece.
And while he was in Arizona, he called her, quote, a tremendous advocate for the people of Arizona and a leader in so many issues important to this state, end quote. Does he regret making that statement, which could be viewed as an endorsement?
I mean, he says this about many congressional members when he visits a state. I've been on many trips with him. You've been on trips with him where he says that. He thanks them for the passport to their state, and he actually talks about the work that he's done with that congressperson or senator in Washington, D.C. That is very, very common. You can look at almost every speech that he's made while he's visited the state, and he talks about and lists how these congressional members and senators, House members, he's worked with them to deliver, whether it's the bipartisan infrastructure.
Karen Reinerson asked, Someone said, "What do you pull your trailer with now? I thought you had the truck." No, I sold the truck because the dealership offered me more money than I paid for it back in June, I think. Only after having it like 2 months, they called me and said, "Hey, we'll buy the truck." So I sold it. And when I did use a trailer, I was pulling it with the motorhome. But now that we're doing the coffee thing and it's ramping up, our store. Well, I'll tell you after.
President's cat.
But it's pretty cool. And you know what I was just thinking? I could really piss off my wife and go buy the truck and not pay off her car.
Has the U.S. reached
Because I'm
out
approved to
directly
do that,
Syria
but I need to
seek
pay off her
Austin
car,
Tice's
and
release? His
we're
family issued a
upside down in
statement
her
saying
car.
NSC has failed to meet with the Syrians to work with them.
Look, you know, I don't want to get, again, trying to be very careful here, not going to get into any negotiations
Of course
or
you're
personal
not.
conversations.
Yeah, you're not going to be
that
honest.
we may be
Okay,
having
we got
with,
you, bit
with the
lady.
wrongfully detained or
Oh,
someone
that
who
was
is being
close.
held abroad.
I was going to say,
we want to be very
Buettner.
careful here.
You
Don't wanna
beauty.
get
That's
into
what I was going to say.
diplomatic discussions. What I will say is that this president is committed, as I've said many times, as he has said, to do everything that he possibly can to bring home Americans who are wrongfully detained and held hostage. And that is a commitment that you have seen. He has, promised and kept over the past several months.
And following up from earlier in the week, do you know if the president has counted the votes to determine if he will seek an assault weapons ban during the lame duck?
I don't have anything more to share beyond what I said a couple days ago.
You don't know if he's counted the
I
votes?
just don't. I don't have an update for you at this time. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, Green. On the economy. So we saw the producer price index come down a bit, but it's still above 7%. The Federal Reserve Chairman says that core inflation may be moving sideways. We get a CPI inflation reading again next week. So if Americans don't see significant progress on inflation, does that mean the Inflation Reduction Act early next year hasn't worked?
Well,
Yes, that's exactly what it
Let's
means.
step back for a second.
She's not going to answer
near-term
that
inflation
truthfully.
expectation fell this month, so that's important. We saw that in the data, so it's important to call out. The producer price index rose at its slowest annual rate since May 2021. So that is data points that we saw in the index today. Americans are beginning to see a much-needed break in inflation, but we have more work to do. And so gas prices have fallen about $1.70 since June and are lower than they were a year ago before Putin's war. That's because of the work that this president has done to bring gas prices down, to deal with an issue that matters to the American people.
They're saying a year ago, not when he took office.
Cost. So millions of Americans shopping for health insurance plans continue to save $800 per year thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act. So yes, it's been beneficial, and we see that it is working. And in 6 weeks, President Biden's plan to bring down prescription drug prices.
Just because she keeps lying to you, just so everyone knows, the current national average, according to AAA, is 331. A year ago, it was 333. So then I was looking at E85 because I'm super smart. Diesel price. Diesel price. What is diesel right now? Diesel went under 5, huh? No shit. Good for D's.
On American families, and so I will leave it there.
Yeah, but you had said the inflation before the midterms. You told me that the Inflation Reduction Act should bring down inflation early next year. So if it doesn't do that,
Joe coming in strong with a $15 Venmo.
First of all, that's a bunch of hypotheticals that you're asking me. What I laid out was something that economists said by looking at the Inflation Reduction Act, by examining it and understanding what it's going to do for the American people. You're bringing up a hypothetical. What I said was, again, what was the analysis that was done by economists, and I just laid out also how we see the Inflation Reduction Act is actually going to.
If you see me chuckle, it's because I'm reading the chat. I see some comments that people are writing, and it cracks me up. I'm not repeating
just going
them,
back
but
to the past
they're
several
funny.
months as well. Look, the Inflation Reduction Act was a piece of legislation that was signed by the president that was only passed by Democrats. And what you saw from Republican officials over the past several months is how they wanted to get rid of it because they were upset about Social Security. They wanted to put Medicare on the chopping block, and they have no plan to lowering costs. So what you're seeing from this administration, what you're seeing from this president, what you're seeing from Democrats in D.C. in Congress is that they are taking action to lower costs for the American people, and that matters, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
An end of the year housekeeping question, following up on what I think Karen was asking about. The House has already voted on the NDAA. The Senate will most likely take it up this week. Should the Senate expect to know what the position of the president is on the bill before they vote on it?
We've been very clear when I've been asked about the vaccine mandate. We thought that was a mistake.
Okay, just so everyone knows, you guys here, because I wanted to look it up because she's a lying butthole. And I'll just be honest, a lying butthole. So the national average gas price right now is $3.31. It's the lowest it's been in over a year. Do you know what the gas price was when Joe Biden took office? Who knows? The national average gas price when Joe Biden took office on January 20th, 2021 was $2.37. So as much as they want to lie to you, as much as they want to spin, all these stupid narratives, I want everybody to understand that gas is nearly $1 more than when it was when Joe Biden first took office. So I don't care about $1.50 reduction in fuel prices that are completely caused by him. I care about us getting back down to $2.37 per gallon.
Well, we've actually laid that out a couple of
Steve.
times.
Thanks.
We believe that the president believes that we should get the government funded, as I just mentioned, including what we need to respond to the disasters, continue to defend democracy in Ukraine, and fight new COVID variants. We're gonna sign the marriage. He's going to sign the Marriage Equality Act, which is something clearly that the president supported. And so, look, we're going to continue to work with Congress and to continue to encourage Congress to get this stuff done. He also believes we should pass the Electoral Reform Act. He believes we should pass the Defense Authorization Bill, right? And that the permitting bill should be also something that we should move forward with. So we kind of listed out some of the things that are important. We hope to finish confirming the judicial nominees the president made earlier this year. So those are just a few of those items that I've listed out before that we are certainly focused on. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. I don't drink.
These people are stupid. I pressed the wrong button. Anyway, welcome back to reality, because I know you weren't catching a lot of reality. I do have to let you know, hold on, I got to fix this thing, because I got to take this right here and slide that home bit over right there. Bam. So now when I go over here, bam. No, where'd it go? Oh, that's a new scene. All right, so hold on. Let me fix it. Bam. Let's drag this to the new scene, which is right there. Bam. All right, now. Fuck. Bam. Bam. So our top dono for the day so far is Kathy, who is going to attempt to beat her. I'll be honest. We're sitting at like 10% of our goal. And I'm seriously like, dude, I should just buy the truck and just deal with an angry wife, which is not a good idea, because then we have two cars. Well, then I'll have two cars, which, yeah, it's not going to work. So we're at 10% of our goal in order to sell my wife's car, buy a new truck without having to use any other cheddar, which would be nice. So anyway, like I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by Karine Jean-Pierre, we were talking about the Twitter release, right? Because everybody, last night, you may have heard that they released tweets that basically just so for me to surmise for the other 200 people that just jumped in here, for me to summarize, right? They basically confirmed that Twitter was censoring or shadow banning conservatives. And why is that crazy? I have no idea. And someone said free truck Friday. No, because no matter what I raise today, it's not going to buy that truck. And I know someone else was like, don't buy it $1,500, buy it $2,500. You'll thank me. The $2,500 is like $20,000 more. So it's a higher down payment because I have to pay off my wife's car. So that's the thing. Or pay the difference because you can only add up to like $2,500 of the negative equity in her car onto the new loan. So something like that. But yeah, that's the goal. PJ said, come on, Yeeters. Is he doing a challenge? I don't know if anyone's going to be able to beat Kathy. We got a couple of them in there. But if someone wants to try, you just got to go big because Kathy always goes big. So anyway, so like I was saying before I rudely interrupted myself. So this Twitter dump yesterday was the same as the first one, right? So it was a lot of confirmation of things that we already knew were happening. We already knew that they were censoring us, right? Conservatives. We already knew that. That's not new knowledge. This is like kind of vindication for it though, because it like proves that they are in fact censoring people, which is expected because again, we already knew it. Someone said, congrats on your new truck. I'm not, as of this point, I'm not getting the truck. We're still very far away from getting it. But what I'll end up doing is whatever I make today, outside of what I'll use on the boxes and stuff, I will put towards her car so we could pay that difference down and then I could just get the truck. But I can't get a third vehicle without getting rid of one of the other ones, right? And I could trade my car, but then she's stuck with the car that she broke and I'm not going to do that. So, but yeah, anyway. The thing that yesterday I got really pissed off because just in case you didn't know, I got really pissed off because we were watching this Twitter thread and I wasn't feeling it. I was like, this is such a waste. This is a waste. It's the same thing. We're not getting a lot of information. We're not getting a lot of the same information that we should. We're not getting anything. And it was pissing me off. Do you know what I mean? Because this is like, it's like when you know something happened, you don't need further proof that it happened because you know it happened, especially if you were the target of whatever the censorship, the shadow banning. You know that you were, everybody knows that Libs of TikTok was shadow banned. Because here's the thing, people publicize it all the time. So like for me, I was waiting for like government, that the government was intervening. I was waiting for something else. They released all this information about shadow banning, and I tweeted out something today that maybe some of you guys have seen, because I wrote, this tweet here. This tweet is big. Someone said it's not just confirmation, it's evidence. It's not what you know, it's how you can prove and how it could be proven against what? That was someone's comment in the chat. You can't prove shit. It's a private company. There's nothing, no recourse whatsoever, that could be handed towards Twitter. That you can't sue Twitter for it because they're a private platform. There is nothing that could be done. So the only thing that I think they're gathering out of this is publicity. I think Twitter is getting publicity. I think Elon Musk is getting publicity. I think these journalists are getting publicity. If Elon Musk called me today and said, hey, I want you to write the next one, I'd be like, fuck yeah, bro. He'd be like, why do you want to write it? Because I'll have millions of people following my freaking Twitter. Like after every single tweet, I'll link to one of my shirts or something. You know what I mean? I'd make a killing. But that's what it is, But look at Ian Mills Chong, his tweet. So he asked, after all that information was released, he said, so here's a question for Elon Musk and Barry Weiss. Were any political candidates, either in the U.S. or elsewhere, subject to shadow banning while they were running for office or seeking election? To which Elon Musk replied, yes. A definitive yes. Now, if that is the case, why wasn't that information released yesterday? Or, released yesterday? If that is the case and they actually have evidence that people at Twitter were censoring candidates, that's a different story. That could, you could go after them for that. But they didn't release that information. Do I believe that it happened? I have no idea, because why wouldn't you release actual pertinent information? I'll be honest. I don't care if Charlie Kirk was censored a little bit, because everybody's censored, especially when you're a public figure and you say anything the least controversial. We know that. When you sign up, if you are a public figure, that you're not going to get your message out to everyone. Shit, what do you think happens every time I go live? I know that I'm not going to get the kind of reach that I need. I know that YouTube's not going to monetize my videos. I know that we're not going to get suggested like other YouTubers do. But I still go live every day. I'm making the choice to make that decision. I can't go after YouTube and try to sue them because I'm using their platform. It's me utilizing their platform. However, I'm not a political candidate. There are laws in place where businesses can't refuse ads from political candidates. They have to give them an equal playing field, stuff like that. That's why a lot of people said when Donald Trump announces that he's running for president again, Facebook's going to find himself in a lawsuit. Because if Facebook doesn't unblock, and someone said treason is treason, nothing that transpired so far that we've heard is treason. Nothing. So let's be honest. I know a lot of people want to be out there and be like, "Holy shit, they censored us! It's the biggest deal since sliced bread." I get you. I understand. I understand the pissiness of it. You know what I mean? I understand it, but you have to be practical here and realize what the actual consequences of all this information coming out. And it isn't the consequences of all this information coming out. Guess what it is? It's a lack of free speech. Does anybody not believe that once Section 230 protections are taken away from these companies, as the new majority leader, the new Speaker of the House, apparently, or he wants to be, Kevin McCarthy, is saying, they want to remove Section 230 protections from these companies. Do you know what happens when they remove Section 230 protections from these companies? You're not going to be able to say shit, because what that means is now these platforms cannot be held liable for anything that's being said on their platforms. You remove that protection from these companies, and they're all going to protect their ass, and you're not going to be able to say anything else. Everybody, and to be honest, that's why I think Elon Musk is. I think Elon Musk, and I said this the other day, I think he's deliberately tanking Twitter. That's my belief. I believe he's deliberately doing it. Someone said treason was committed. It's a big global issue. There is nothing to do with treason in Twitter that we've seen thus far. Not a single bit. So let's not go there. And if you want to be real about this, the only government intervention that's been uncovered thus far was the Trump administration telling Twitter or recommending accounts for deletion. That's the only government intervention that we've uncovered thus far through these data dumps. It's long been overlooked. Remember when they said the DNC was sending in all those tweets and Twitter was deleting those tweets? The paragraph right before that, they said the Trump administration was recommending accounts for ban or tweets for review. That, my friends, would be government compelled speech. If the government, the Trump administration, they didn't say Trump campaign, they said the Trump administration. If the Trump administration was recommending accounts for deletion to Twitter, that's government compelled speech. But nobody wants to talk about that because that's the Trump space, Trump, and we just got to go after the crazy leftists all the time. I get it. I'm on board. Let's go. Let's get them up. Round them up. But people have to be real about it. People have to pay attention. People have to pay attention to what's actually happening. My belief is that they are releasing all this information strategically. All these politicians that have been championing going after big tech because they're too powerful, or they censor conservatives, or the leftists that are like, oh, they're not censoring enough. And the one thing they're uniform on is the only way to force these companies to do what they want is to remove the protections that they enjoy, which is Section 230 protection. That's it. You remove Section 230 protection, you're going to have the left is going to be happy because they're going to be strict as shit on what's allowed to be said. And then the right's going to not be happy because their views are going to be completely shut down. And no, I don't know if anybody actually disagrees with that idea and that concept, or meaning that that's what's coming out. I think people do disagree with the idea of not being able to say on social media, but these are the truth. Cool Guy 2022. I don't know if you're trolling, bro, but you're kind of getting annoying because you said crimes against humanity. This is the biggest scandal in history. It's not good to dismiss evidence of treason. Where's the treason, son? Yeah, I called you son because you're acting like a child. Where is the treason? Cool Guy 2022. Where's the treason? Name one thing that you saw here that was treason thus far. Because you have no involvement by government agencies that have been directly, we could do research and find out that there's more. But where else? What else are you seeing? Where else are you seeing anything like that? That's where I'm curious. I'm waiting for Cool Guy 2022 to say where the acts of treason are, because again, this is a private business. Private business can do whatever they want on their platform. You disagree? Did you agree with the government directing businesses to have to close? Did you? Cool Guy 2022 said it's a cover up. The MSN, big tech, and pharma. Again, that wasn't the question I asked. What I asked you is, what in any of these Twitter files have you seen as treason, specifically treason? You know, and then you're still saying the truth is coming out, dismissing treason is not good. So if you can't think rationally and speak rationally in the chat, I don't suggest you keep doing it, because for some reason I see the big lion in your profile picture and it draws my attention to it. And if you're spreading misinformation in my chat, just like Twitter, I will just kick you out because I don't want misinformation. You saying this is treason is not treason. If you want to say the government had some involvement in this, I agree. Do you know why? You know why I agree? Because CIS, Center for Internet Security, is funded by DHS in a $114 million cooperative agreement, and they are the ones that are recommending accounts for deletion to Twitter. They are paid directly by DHS. So if you want to say that there is government intervention in what's going on with these social media platforms censoring everybody, then yes, 100%. 100%. It's not treason, though. That would be government compelled speech, which would be a First Amendment violation. People have to understand you're not violating. Like, it's perplexing to me that so many people are like, whoa, because a lot of the people that are really pissed off at Twitter for censoring people and shadow banning people or visibility banning them or what, or, you know, whatever they're, you know, viral banning or whatever the hell the different expressions they are. A lot of those people are the same ones that were saying that businesses don't have the right to mandate masks in their places, or that the government can't mandate masks. And they're the ones who criticize businesses for making their own business choices. They're the ones that were saying that when COVID was rampant, that businesses should be able to make their own decisions on when to operate, to when to open, to when to close. It's very perplexing to me, because you believe in free speech, and you believe in freedom of expression, and you believe in all that when it comes to just a certain set of standards. And that's very democratic, like Democrats. It's very down their way of thinking. It's not really the way a conservative would think. Because you would think a conservative would be like, hey, listen, a private business has the right to make whatever choices they want to make. That would be like you filing a lawsuit against 7-Eleven, where they have the shirt, no shoes, no service, and you walk in there without a shirt, they kick you out. So you sue them, saying, I want to be, or you start boycotting outside the platform and saying, no one should go in there because they won't let me in without a shirt. I mean, beyond the fact that nobody wants to see your hairy belly and all that stuff, the fact is a business has the right to make up their own rules and regulations. You even heard Karine Jean-Pierre say that today. She's cliche as fuck for saying that. And it's full of contradictions, because they just last week were talking about how Twitter has seen a rise and they're not stamping down on the speech that's on their platform. Today, she's like, well, they're a private business. They can do what they want. What changed in a week? Oh, that's right. Negative publicity for the White House. You know what I mean? Nobody is saying there's a radical agenda. Cool Guy said censoring information in an election is wrong, maybe not treason. It's not treason. There's an actual crime for it. It's called interfering with an election. That's what it is, election interference. There is a crime. It wouldn't be treason, but there is a crime. You know, someone said, Steve, serious question. Do you think they could prove that Joe Biden was a member of CCP? They would tell us. I have no idea. Are you insinuating that Joe Biden is a member of the CCP? Do I believe he's a member of the Chinese Communist Party? No. Do I think he takes money from them? Probably. He takes money from everybody. I haven't heard that. It's kind of like the conversation yesterday we were having about the marriage equality bill, whatever, you know, make America whatever insane again. That bill that was coming out, everyone was trying to insinuate that bill allowed humans to marry dogs, because you probably saw it on one far right or far left channel, and they're like, oh, there's no prohibitions allowing, you know, people to marry animals. And so people were literally typing that in the chat as if that was real, which made me like seriously question some people in my chat and just be like, you guys are not normal, you know. Treason, the crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill, sovereign, or overthrow the government. Yeah, but it's by physical force. That's what treason is. That's why all the J6 people that were charged with sedition, that's why they were charged with sedition, not treason, because they can't be charged with treason because it requires the actual action. Sedition, however, requires just speaking about it. That's why they were charged with sedition. You know what I mean? Those are facts. Cool guy said it's not treason. You apologize, but it is a crime. Absolutely, it is a crime. When the government intervenes and censors free speech, it is a crime. It's government compelled speech. It's a violation of the First Amendment. When a private business makes an editorial decision to censor someone on their own platform, that is their right as a business. I know everyone disagrees with me. Trust me, shit, I disagree with that. Every single time it happens. You guys saw it yesterday when I tried to monetize a video. And the second I press, monetize, it's like limited. And I'm like, this is bullshit. No matter how hard I try, no matter how hard I try not to curse, no matter how hard I try to conform to YouTube's norms, I can't get a damn monetized video. Do I believe there's any other reason besides that I'm a super attractive conservative political commentator? No. Yeah, I added the super attractive part in there because it's great. But it is what it is. Google gets to make up their own determinations. And I still use the platform because it is a way to reach so many of you. If I wasn't reaching as many people on YouTube, I wouldn't bother with it. But the fact is, I got to conform. It's like if I want to go into a New York City nightclub, right? And they have a rule in place that you got to wear dinner jackets, or a DC fancy restaurant or something like that. I can't sit and boycott out there because they didn't let me in because I was wearing a cutoff t-shirt. You know what I mean? That business has the right to make up their own decisions. So where is the difference between these companies? And here's the thing. Angry Viking Veteran said they are publishers, not a free speech platform. They're not a free speech platform. They don't have some special license from the government exempting them from repercussions. Actually, they do, Section 230. But ultimately, do I believe they should have had Section 230 protection? No. But I also understand that's fundamental for my livelihood. If you remove Section 230 protections from YouTube and if I say something that pisses someone off, they don't even need to just sue me. They could sue YouTube for allowing that content on that platform. Right now, someone cannot sue Twitter for Twitter allowing someone else's tweet on their platform. They cannot do it. They have Section 230 protection, which protects them from that. However, if you put that into question, they're not going to allow anything. They're going to be tightening the belt, not allowing any sort of speech. The only thing you're going to be able to talk about is lemons, and you're not going to be able to curse. Why did I say lemons? Probably because they're sour, and it's funny to me. And I'm drinking a Sprite, and Sprite is lemon lime. And I'm not really drinking it. I had it a long time ago for lunch. Someone said they'd become a town hall. Yes. Yep. But I hope people understand that, because I think what a lot of people are doing right now is they're super hyper focused on the fact that someone said abolish Section 230, Gab takes over. Again, you don't understand what Section 230 protection does. It allows Gab to have the content that's on their platform. They can't take over either. Do you understand? They are still covered by Section 230 protection. You think it's single for just YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter? No, Section 230 protection goes to everybody. That's why those platforms exist, until the government decides to overstep it and then block those different channels, for perceived crimes that are being committed on it. But Gab, all the other ones, Parler, all of True Social, all of those are all covered by Section 230 protections. Section 230 protections are gone from those platforms. The free speech is dead. I'll be honest with you. David Perdue said, Steve, I see other YouTubers cuss all the time and get monetized. I guess it's because they have over 100,000 followers. It's all about the money. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what it is. It has to do with the content. I don't know what it is. You're not supposed to swear within a certain amount of time. I just got to start that button all the time when I'm talking, and just be like with it. Or maybe I should put the video on a delay, feed it to someone else who just whole job is there just when I'm about to curse to press the button. I don't know. But, someone said you can't use a site like 8chan to organize crime. You can't use any site. You can't use Twitter to organize crime either. Bonnie Kroll said, so I think that when people start finding out the conflict in all of this, Section 230 keeps the entity, Twitter, whoever, from being sued because that's because of what someone else said. Then why not let them say it? Because the platforms still get to make an editorial determination on what is and isn't on their platforms. And that's the argument by Section 230 with conservatives. Conservatives say, we're going to remove Section 230 because you're not supposed to be editorializing if you have those protections. If you look at newspapers, right? So newspapers don't, you know why newspapers do retractions? Because if someone writes something on their platform that's false, they're fucking going to get sued. You know what I mean? It's very funny. Shunt Me Harder said, you are clueless. I don't know if you're talking to me or you're talking to somebody else. But there's nothing I've said thus far is untrue. Nothing at all. Maybe I can think with a different light and I can look a different way. But you need to read the whole thing. There's a circular saw on there. Okay, so Bonnie said, so I think that's where people start finding the conflict in all this. Section 230 keeps the entity, Twitter, whoever, from being sued because of what somebody else said. Then why not let them say it? You're freaking protected. Why are you censoring their speech? If they say something so outlandish, whatever, incorrect slander, whatever, then they can personally be sued, okay, but taking away their protection, now they're compelled to censor what people say to keep themselves out of hot water. So it goes back to they had this protection all the time, but they were still censoring speech when there's nothing that was said that could have got them in trouble. Well, they're censoring speech because they have a right to censor speech. It's their platform. They own that. A lot of people try to make the best example I can give is that if you came into the store, right? If the door wasn't locked and I didn't have guns and you came in to the front of this office, right? And you came in, you started talking about something. And at first I'm allowing you to be here and we're just having a conversation, but then you piss me off. And so I ask you to leave and you don't leave and you continue talking. And I say, you got to leave and you don't leave. You continue talking. So I physically remove you from the place and then give you a trespass, right? That's the best example I can give of what happens on Twitter. Twitter, and a lot of people want to say, well, that's different because these people come into your property. Twitter, like if you're actually utilizing Twitter, that's their property. That is literally what their property is. I'm sure they have patents and all that stuff for it as well. Do you know what I mean? I agree. But, it would be nice if we could live in a world where we didn't have to worry about censorship, where big tech didn't have to censor people. It would be beautiful to be in that kind of world. But unfortunately, we don't live in that kind of world. And we never have lived in that kind of world, to be completely honest with you. Because there's always going to be someone that has different kind of conversation. There's always going to be someone that has a different view than you. And let's be honest, people can't be good about it. Democrats are just as vile and disgusting as conservatives sometimes. Most of the time they are. And it's interesting, It's interesting when you think it. Someone said, whoa, we did when we had common sense. When? There's always been hate speech. There's always been that kind of shit going on. We've never had a full, platform, unless you're speaking individually. There's never been a platform where you could speak openly. And think about it. The radio has got the FCC breathing down your throat. You say the F-bomb, you're getting a $10,000 fine. Think about it. Look at Howard Stern. Ask Howard Stern about free speech. He had to conform and do all this until he went over to Sirius and became a total left-wing batshit crazy loser. But look at him. They were censoring his speech and all that stuff for a long time. When have you truly had free speech in this country, except for just saying things that you want to say to yourself? When you're using other people's platforms, you're using, the airwaves is a different story. I never understood how the FCC could do that. But when you're in someone else's business, you're using someone else's business. I don't know. Melissa said at SMH, Tommy Fuller, the dude robbed a store, killed the worker because the worker shot at him first and now is walking free. Do you agree with that? No, I don't fucking agree with that. I was the first one to talk about it before you heard it on mainstream media. And I don't believe it was in Florida. Wasn't it in Texas? No, that was Kevin Jackson, the guy that shot the shoplifter in Family Dollar. Yeah, I was one of the first ones to talk about that story too, where the guy came in to rob him. He had a gun. The other worker had a gun and he shot at him. And he was charged, the worker, or he wasn't charged with the robbery guy was charged with robbery and all that stuff, but he wasn't charged with capital murder because they said that the guy that he shot and killed shot him several times and was continuing to shoot him while the threat was done, while the guy was on the ground, which doesn't make any sense because how'd he cap off a shot if the threat was actually done? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I reported on that shit first because I'm amazing. You know, not to toot my own horn. I am quite awesome. And I'm on top of it. You should tune in more because you would have been here when we were talking about. Dun, 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 dun. Someone will censor either government or business. Yeah. Someone said the worst person that ever happened to this country was, or the world, was the internet. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. Spark Shadow Tiger Gaming said, "Hey, Steve Oley, hope you are doing okay. The Twitter files are insane. It's scary how you try to share this info to your friends and your friends shut you down saying it's all conspiracy bullshit." Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. The majority of the stuff that we've heard now is clickbait. I'll be honest with you, it's clickbait. There are some interesting things. You know what I mean? Like the emails. Well, actually, nothing that came from these. I haven't learned shit from any of these because we already knew it. Like all these tweets that the DNC recommended, those were pornographic tweets which violated Twitter's terms of service anyway. Anybody could have reported those tweets. Anybody. And they're only providing a one-sided argument. This is like watching a J6 hearing. Think about it from that perspective. We are only hearing things that conservative journalists are presenting. They're not presenting, saying every time the Trump administration tried to X out tweets. They're not saying anything like that. They're not talking about anything relative. They're not talking about any Democrats who had their platform censored. I know it happened because we would see them where Democrats, the lefties had their accounts blocked in 2021 and 2020. It happened because they would always be bitching about it on their other platforms saying, "I just got censored. This is crazy." It's happened. You didn't see any of that presented. So we're getting presented a one-side thing, just like J6 hearings. The J6, that's why no one can take them seriously because it's all misinformation. They're presenting a one-sided argument like it was a real investigation. Of course you're going to get to your conclusions because you're not looking for anything else. It's the same thing with Twitter. That's why I've been calling for them just to release all the documents. Because if you're not going to release all the documents, we're not going to be able to figure out what the fuck you're talking about. We're not going to be able to actually have a firm grasp of what is taking place with the censorships. I'm curious now because we're going to enter into a non-political realm with this next Twitter files drop, which I'm not sure if it's going to be today or tomorrow. I know it's going to be one of these days. And that has to do a lot with child pornography on this platform. So that's going to be a little bit interesting because unless it's political and there's political pressure there, I don't see how it would be political. I think that would just be different. But they're going to stop talking about the political side from what I understand and talk about child pornography coming up. So Shunt Me Harder on, can you just change your name, bro? I'm just going to say Shunt for now on. But anyway, you said still haven't got all the info. So yeah, we can make conclusions. So you can't make conclusions, I think is what you right to say. Melissa said, have a great day. Good luck on your goal for the truck. Yeah, Kathy fucked up that goal. I shouldn't have mentioned Kathy's. I should have kept going with the small ones. But then when Kathy got put a bunch in, everyone's like, oh, fuck it. We're not beating Kathy. Should I just not include Kathy as a top donation until the end? Cool Guy said, I'm being censored on YouTube. Have always had to change 1080 to 1044. Yeah, I don't know. Shunt said, you made conclusions already. I did make conclusions. I've made conclusions that the Twitter files dump is a advertising ploy. It's a ploy to get users so then they can go to all these advertisers and say, hey, listen, the best time for you to place your advertisements, charge your premium, will be at this time. You know what I mean? Because they know that they're garnishing millions and millions of people that are watching this thing. That's my belief. Bill said, what's up, Steve from Southeast Mass? What's up, homie? PJ said, Kathy, whatever that means. Spark Shadow Gaming Tiger said Twitter was being biased to pedophiles and it's disgusting. The artwork I seen post there automatically reported because the stuff I saw was disgusting. Those accounts still are up. Yeah, they are. God Rides Harley said, we are bored and frustrated because we already knew this, but 80% of our country did not. That's why they're slow rolling. I think the entire country knew this. Yeah, maybe here's the thing. They may have said it's unfounded claims, but there's nobody can really argue and say that people in this country didn't know what was actually taking place. I don't think so. I mean, I don't know how you could be that dense. Is that kind of insulting to those people to say that they're dense? Probably, but I don't care if it's a truth with an F. You know what I mean? David C said, I wonder if there's any Epstein Island tweet files. I don't even know what you're talking about. Just in case anyone's just tuning in, you don't know what I'm doing. I'm reading the chats from all the platforms all at once. So you may not see the comments, but Kathy said, yes, Steve, don't mention my donations. It's a little late for that. Maybe tonight when I do a Tonight Show. But I was thinking about not even doing Tonight Show, but now I will. Because you know how when you're like productive, I don't know if anyone feels the same way. Like I was like the show quality was much, much better. Like everything, like my productivity, the sales, like everything. I was pumping out new shirt designs all the time. And I really think that's because I had a truck and I was just very happy with everything. I don't have a truck and now I'm miserable. And so I want to buy a truck. But I know my wife would fucking kill me if I showed up with a truck and we still have both of our cars. So I got her to agree to trade in her car, which is the one I drive every day now because she broke the tailgate, but I have to come up with the difference. So that's where we're at. So hoping to raise it, probably not going to. It's quite an ambitious amount, but David Perdue said, so many people had no idea what was going on. I've still got guys at work that had their heads in the sand in 2020 and 2021 and now are asking questions. Good. That's what everyone needs to do. Is talk to people about what's going on because you can do it. You can, and here's the thing: you can frame it in such a way that people aren't just like, oh, he's just spouting right wing ideology. Maybe I don't know. Someone said, why not fix the tailgate? Because it's a $3,000 fix and it's a fucking Subaru, and I hate Subarus. We call it the Lesbaru. But it's okay. We lived in Vermont. We could do that. One of my first cars was actually a Subaru. It was a Subaru Outback sedan, and it had the loudest fucking exhaust you ever heard on it. It was like, that's it had one of those like Rice Rocket that exhaust built on it. I got it in an auction for $300, and I put like 50,000 miles on that thing. I drove all over the country in it. I delivered pizzas too up in Vermont. I kicked the crap out of that one. And then I also had, because in Vermont, it's all Subarus. Virtually every single person has Subarus. But yeah, spoiled something on YouTube with a nasty name said exactly the Twitter drops are being used to drum up publicity, possibly to redirect the public discord. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. That's the only thing I could surmise is that it's publicity driven. I don't really think there's any because we haven't. Here's the thing: they're not going to release when even Jack Dorsey freaking said, "Oh, look at that." So we're gonna switch it. We'll go back. We'll start a new one because Kathy gave me permission. So we're gonna start a new one. Who is this? Art is the new leader. Art via Cash App. Who is going to beat him? There. Kathy said I could do it. I saw it in the chat. Someone said, apologies, I was acting like it was Friday. I'll go back to adulting. Wait, isn't it Friday today? Yeah, it is Friday. Isn't it? Yeah, our garbage came today. It's Friday. Jack Dorsey was doubling down hard last night. You saw his tweets he made? Nah, I didn't see his tweets yesterday. Were they good? I saw the tweet where he told everyone where he told Elon Musk to release everything. He just said, he's just like, listen, if you really want transparency, release everything. I don't know what else he said. Let me see. Oh, he's posting all sorts of weird shit. Powering rural village, securing the Bitcoin network. What? He's in Ecuador. I'm trying to see. Yeah, he's in some foreign country doing stuff. Yeah, I'm only seeing stuff about him being in Ecuador doing stuff on his social media. I'm not seeing anything else. He retweeted, U.S. officials continue to troll about world press freedoms while assaulting them. I thought I just heard someone at the door. That's interesting. No. Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Unless he was doing like tweets and replies, but I'm not going to go through all those. R. Brooks said, you're a car dealer. What do I want for your wife's Subaru? What do I want for the wife's Subaru? More than it's worth. Because we're negative. That's why I got to come up with the difference for the car. So more than it's worth. I looked up the KBB. Like we were offered $15,900 for it. Or yeah, like almost 16,000 for it through the car dealership. And then I looked up on KBB and it's like, yeah, 13 grand. I'm like, what? Like what? Used car values used to be through the roof. I don't know. But yeah. I think we owe 1,900 on it. Something like or 19,000 and change. So unless you're gonna sell it for or buy it for more than it's worth. Someone said, yeah, I don't understand why drag it all out and crap. It's just better to go ahead and release it. Yeah, I mean, that's my thoughts. I think they should release it. Let me see if he retweeted anything to anybody else. Or these are tweets and retweets. How do I? It's all this stuff. Shibushi Namo here. I'll just show you guys. So this is on Jack Dorsey's account. Tweets will show view count, and then he's all up on his D, you know. Has any company successfully replaced Slack with IRC? I don't know what they're talking about. Throwback. I don't know. See, he's still got people that are being nice to him. I don't know. I'm trying to see if there's anything. Because people said that he was going ham yesterday. I don't see shit. Twitter has become this agora precisely because it allows for anonymous speech. Otherwise, you'd have a new Facebook. And then he said facts. It's amazing how Facebook was able to eliminate all offensive speech and trolls forever by enforcing a true name policy. Zuckerberg is a genius. And then he said, that was that. Joel Putin said Jack implies that he was still in charge. He wouldn't have released the embarrassing email showing how content was banned for political reasons. This, of course, ignores the fact that it happened on Jack's watch and he did nothing about it. Where's the trust and transparency then? And he said, not what I'm saying at all, B. And I think B stood for bitch. I don't know if that's, but see, there was really nothing on his, I don't know why someone was like, oh, he was going ham yesterday. Not really. Someone said Dorsey wanted him to put everything out because he knew the FBI guy was vetting. Yeah, probably. But they're not going to do that because then the suspense is over. Everybody can go through all the information. We will know what really transpired at there, and nobody wants to know that. Elon Musk doesn't want you to know that. Make no mistake about it. Elon Musk doesn't want you to know it. Nobody does. Nobody, no way, no how. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you know what? It's not Art. It's Ari. Sorry. Art is probably like, or Ari is probably like, what the fuck, bro? You didn't even get my name right. Sorry, I fixed it. I'm checking to see if there was any PayPals. I got to manually check on the PayPals. And there wasn't, so we're good. What else? So do you think they're gonna do another dump today, or you think it's gonna be done tomorrow? I think because I saw some speculation that one of the people that champions getting rid of child predators on Twitter. She said she believes that it's coming out either today or tomorrow because she was asked to be in a space directly after to answer questions or something like that. So it leads me to believe they are going to be dumping it. And I don't know. I think what I may do is go live around 8 o'clock and we'll see if it does come on. If not, we'll just stay live for a little bit, shoot the shit, hang out. I probably won't do a call-in show because I hate call-ins, but we'll just talk about stuff. Maybe watch some live on Patrol when it comes on. But for now, I suppose I'm just going to go. Thank you, everyone, for all your contributions today. I do appreciate it. If you're watching this on replay, you're more than welcome to send a big one. If I get to the goal where you'll know, because I'll have a truck and it's going to say thank you to all the Yeet. Or what did I say? You know, whatever. This truck is paid for by Yeet. Someone said Steve receives 20 PayPal donation. PayPal fines Steve $2,500 for wrong think. Yeah, but they're not going to. This is, bro. I'm so over this fucking. I want. I don't even know. I'm so tired of people just bitching about everything all the time. Don't use those fucking platforms if you got a problem with their terms of service. It's really not that hard to follow. Like when you drive a car, you put on a seatbelt, right? When you're going to make a turn, you turn on your blinker. You follow simple rules and simple instructions. When you walk into a restaurant, you're wearing shoes, right? Yeah, it's not like you're walking into the restaurant, going into the back and cooking your own food. Someone else is doing it. You're conforming to their policies and procedures. I don't understand why it's so hard for people to do that. You know, you can bitch about them all you want, but we also have this right where we don't need to do stuff. We don't need to conform to other people's ideologies if we don't want to. You don't need to use Twitter. Go to one of the other platforms. You don't need to use Facebook. You don't need to use any of those things. You know, to me, it's like people are looking for stuff. And what I want to figure out, it's like they're looking for stuff to pick out deliberately because they don't want to talk about what's really going on. And that's what is the most concerning thing to me, truthfully, is that I believe that everything that's being released, all this talk about censorship, all this talk about the Twitter files, I think this is literally made to take our attention off of something. But what? And it's got to be big. It's got to be massive because the amount of energy they're putting into all this. And that's my belief. And I know it's kind of conspiratorial, but you know, it is what it is. But I'll be live tonight around 8 o'clock. I'm going to go home and eat in a little bit. And then I'll be live today at 8 o'clock. R. Brooks said Subaru is a pretty desirable car. All right, dude. Yeah, give me $20,000 for my 2015 Subaru Outback or Legacy Outback, whatever. It's got 83,000 miles. All right. If it's let's see how good of a used car salesman you are, buddy. Let me know when you want to buy it, and then I'll buy my truck, and we'll all be super happy. But yeah, if you want to buy the Subaru, I know they hold good value, but they're not good value right now. Someone said, Steve, maybe think about brewing coffee in the background if you sell coffee. I won't be doing live streams when I'm actually slinging the coffee in the mornings when the store opens, because I can't. Because then I'm going to have to be like, do you consent to being on camera? You know what I mean? But I will probably set up in the back and do like little videos. But right now I got to go pump out a chest workout. So I appreciate all you guys for hanging out. And we'll see. The Subaru, someone said, what do you say? God Rides a Harley said, let's just hope the Subaru makes it home. Oh, there's nothing wrong with the Subaru outside of the trunk sensors. There's nothing else wrong with it. It drives perfect. It's it's a tank. It's all-wheel drive. I just hate the fucking car. You know, and my wife isn't driving it. She's driving my Chevy Malibu. So I'm like, fuck it. I texted her at lunch and I said, I want to sell your car and buy a truck. She's like, that's a great idea. And I'm like, I know it is. Because she also knows that I'll be much, much happier with a truck. But then when I put everything in and found out what her payoff was on her car, and then I'm like, fuck, it's not going to happen. You know, unless I found a truck that will work. I just got to come up with extra money, and I can't use any of the money that we have now because, you know, just like everybody else in America, we're on the verge of being fucked. Do you know what I mean? So buying a truck is probably not the best idea, but then I can use the trailer. I could soup up the trailer and then use the trailer to go in like Loudoun County and a much bigger area and just get name recognition out. So, you know, it's either that or I was like going to finance a Sprinter and convert that or something. But I think this is a better option. I already have the trailer anyway, right? So I don't know. The only way I could because I got approved to buy the truck without paying off the Subaru, and then we just have to keep it. But then my wife would be pissed, bro. she'd be so mad at me. And I don't know if I could deal with that right now, because then I'm going to have a car. And I did that before, because, you know, one time I did it and we got in a huge fight because I had a Kia Optima and I just got tired of it, because I get tired of vehicles all the time. And so I went and bought the Equinox, just brand new, just went and bought it. And I've financed it. And so then I had a Kia Optima that was under a loan, and then the other one that was under a loan. But at that point I had employees. So I had one employee that needed a car. So she actually paid off that car within, you know, she essentially just took over my monthly payments and paid me every month for it. And so it was good. You know what I mean? It worked. And so my wife wasn't pissed, except the one time I had to go chase down payments after I fired the lady. She was nice. She just stopped performing. She was a salesperson. So she stopped making phone calls because she was having personal shit. And I was like, you owe me money. She's like, yeah. And I'm like, I just made your payment. So I'm either coming to get the car, coming to get the payment. I'll see you in about 20 minutes. And I did. I drove to her house and she gave me it all up in crumpled money. But I don't want to piss off my wife. Someone said, all you got to do up is put a sign. It doesn't work for $20,000 cars, guys. And it doesn't work when you're trying to sell it for more than it's worth. Okay. I'm not a used car dealer. See what I did there? The guy that's a used car. Anyway, I will see all of you guys tonight at 8:00. I appreciate all of you for your continued support. If you haven't already, go check out puretruthcoffee.com. It's back. New coffee flavors are up. There's going to be even more, plus a bunch of shirts. There's going to be a coffee bundle that comes in an ammo can. It's not available yet. I got to get the supply of coffee that comes in. That may be gratis. There's going to be a whole pile of stuff. So I appreciate all you guys for watching, and we will see you tonight, 8:00 Eastern.